Hey guys, so I'm making a video because, as usual, a lot of things happened, and I would like to talk about a few things which occurred during the few past days. Obviously, we have the aspect of Nord Stream, also, we have the aspect of Ukraine progressing in the war, and then we have a few other things I would like to talk about. Especially, I would like to talk about censorship and, well, the mainstream media, I guess. So first of all, let's start with Nord Stream. Today something really funny happened. A person called Jeffrey Sachs gave an interview on Bloomberg, and the interview went, let's say, differently than the people who were taking the interview were expecting, to say the least. So what did happen? Everybody can feel free to check and watch the video as long as it's available, even though the original video already has been removed, mind you that. So there is definitely something going on and somebody not wanting you to hear that for whatever reasons. Well, I guess it's disinformation and another agent of the Kremlin, whatever. Anyways, basically he said that the US is the most likely actor behind the sabotage of Nord Stream. And he made a pretty good line saying that. So, what was the line of arguments that he brought up? Well, first of all, you have the aspect that the US, not only once, but a couple of times, said that they will bring an end to Nord Stream if Russia was to invade Ukraine. You had the press conference Biden was giving when he was talking with Scholz, where he basically said, yeah, we will bring an end to Nord Stream. And when asked, he was said, trust me, we'll do it. And there have been a couple of other occurrences of major US politicians claiming something similar, even though they weren't as direct as Biden was with his words. The second line of arguments that he was making is the fact that he was simply talking about the one person who was to benefit the most out of it. Like, look, if Russia was really to blow up Nord Stream, why the fuck would they blow up a pipeline if they can just close the gas? They don't have to blow it up. There was no gas running whatsoever. They can simply close it. It's like saying that the electricity company will come to your house and break it apart so that you no longer have electricity. They will simply shut off the electricity, right? That's stupid. And the third line of arguments that he was making, which I also find the most interesting, because I also believe it to be that way, is the fact that he asked who benefits the most for it. Like, look, the Nord Stream pipelines made it sure that Europe had access to very cheap gas. And this meant that Europe, as an industrial place, was very competitive with the closure of those pipelines and the access to cheap resources ending. Europe is becoming more and more unattractive to companies, and you have already a lot of companies which are going broke, a lot of other companies which are simply leaving Europe in order to put their bases into the US, Asia, wherever. Like, even the US is more attractive than Europe right now because the energy prices there are way lower than they are in Europe, which is a first because we no longer have cheap energy. On the other hand, we do have energy from the East because the US was very eager to sell us their LNG gas. And to just put a number up in the room, the US roughly makes around $200 million per ship of LNG which comes into Europe. So, humbly ask, who has to benefit from the destruction of the pipeline? Is it the Russians, who simply closed it off and would gamble away their only bargaining chip, instead of blowing up the pipeline which is in use and belongs to Poland? Please. Anyways, then we have the aspect of Ukraine progressing in the war. Well, that's an obvious. Everybody is talking about how effective Ukraine is in the war, and it's obvious that they are being effective. The one thing everybody fails to mention is the amount of numbers they've put up in order to progress that far. Because everybody is just talking about Russian losses. Somehow everybody forgets that the country which is basically attacking is always the one who loses more. And Official numbers claim that there are roughly 40,000 people who are participating in the whole advance, which is happening right now, and that's just in the north of Ukraine. To give you a rough estimate, like the total manpower that Russia had there, like combining them with those Donetsk, Luhansk militias, was roughly 200 or 250,000 people. And yeah, like basically we are talking about a number of roughly 40,000 people right now who are just participating in that attack. Anyways, I cannot confirm that number, nor can I deny it. I can only say that those are claims which are made, which have been made by the US. So I don't think the US has any reason to say numbers which are incorrect in that reason. But anyways, that's not the real interesting aspect about that. The interesting aspect about that is the fact that Zelensky signed an order in which he made it international, well, not international, Ukrainian law that is forbidden to negotiate with Putin, meaning that the war in Ukraine is not allowed to come to a halt by negotiations. It's only allowed to come to a halt by victory of either side. And let's be honest here, like, if Russia feels like losing, and apparently they simply don't have the manpower to put up with the forces which Ukraine put up to the fronts, they will start using nuclear weapons. Like, Russia is not going to lose that war. And if they do, I highly doubt the fact that Ukraine will be able to do anything, but that's just my opinion, of course. As one famous politician once said, you should never have a nuclear power in a state in which they are forced against the wall with their back, because at that point, they might do things that you would wish they would not do. But that's just my opinion. So that's to Ukraine. Then the last topic I want to touch on about, it's the pushing of the narrative. Obviously, everybody is going to say that I'm just another agent of the Kremlin or whatever, but I don't really care. It's not really about channels which are, let's say, objective or anything. I'm not talking about channels who are solely pushing the narrative of the Kremlin, because I have a clear position. Like, I wouldn't trust either side. Every side is part of the conflict, so every side has its own interest in certain information. So the truth is always somewhere in the middle and never at one side of the border. Anyways, so what's happening right now? A lot of channels who are actually, how would you say, well, which are questioning things, which are questioning things, which are questioning the narrative, which are being objective. Like when they are debating things, they are not pushing the narrative of the Kremlin, not at all. They are simply questioning things which are being pushed in our mainstream media, and they are doing that for a good reason. And all of those channels, well, not all of them, but many of those, have been have been receiving bans, light bans, and whatnot. As the platform I'm referring to is YouTube for now. I know of at least like 5 channels who have been not attacked, but who have been under attack by those bans. Well, it's actually an attack, so whatever. And that's a scary thing, because we are always saying that the Kremlin is a dictatorship and that they have censorship and everything. But it happens to be that we also have censorship, does it not? Well, but just as always, that's always just my opinion. I can't really prove anything of that. I mean, the channel is getting banned, and the things I've just said, you can easily read them up. It's not made up. It's simple information available to everyone. But I do hope you enjoyed that rather long rant of mine. And maybe you'll start thinking about something you didn't think about before. Hope you enjoyed.